1970s was a period of heightened activity within the Tamil community. Politically, the federal party, who claimed to be their political leaders, they were increasing their demands and nothing was being met by the state. And then the youngsters were finding avenues for education and access to place of educational establishments that were getting closed gradually, like what do you call merit system is being replaced by forgetting the word standardization, those kind of things. So there were lots of people mushrooming to go outside the normal democratic process. In England, I was becoming part of a process. There was a group called EROS, which a lot of us joined, mostly leftists who joined EROS. There were people who were coming to study in England, and they joined this organization, and we would train them in the PLOs and send them to Sri Lanka. So they formed a body of youngsters in the Vanni. Then on the ground, there were other forces coming like Tello, Kuttimani's group. Then I think Tigers then were known as TNT, I think. They were coming up, the youngsters, they didn't know what to do, but normally they are all within the TULF. At that time, the TULF was being formed, and one of the things is EROS didn't join the TULF. They said these are all bourgeoisie organizations using the masses for their own purposes. So EROS didn't join TULF. While our youngsters were coming and organizing themselves, there was this other group in the neighborhood within a few miles. They were also organizing, so they came together. That is how EROS and Prabharan's group came close together. When they came close together, they would exchange their missions. I mean, we were coming from a Marxist perspective, where for us, it was the state was a problem. We are not into based our activities on previous Jaffna kingdoms or anything like that. And we included the plantation workers. We recognized they were the key people who have been oppressed, not so much the Tamils in Jaffna or other areas. Then they came with their own ideas. So there was, we were trying to get to understand, make them understand where we were coming from. In fact, we admired some of the members of his group, like Uma Maheswaran was then part of LTTE, Prabharan and others, and we wanted them to join us. In fact, he was so good, we wanted him to be our military commander, Prabharan at that time. I then, during that period, I used to come to Sri Lanka almost every year and spend about 2 months here. And when I come here, Prabharan would come early morning about 2, 3 o'clock and knock on my window. He knew where I slept. And he will come with one of my close relatives who was also involved in forming the LTTE. And we would have a discussion until about 5 o'clock about our things. He was curious to know where we are coming from, what you are going to do, and we were saying various things. And he wouldn't talk, he would just listen. He would just listen and go. He must have been then, I guess, in his early 20s or even less than that.
In 1967, I was an active member of the Socialist Union, which was the student body that contested the student council elections at the time. And after the elections, we were waiting to find out the results. And the leader of the Socialist Union, Comrade Sarath Vijayasinghe, brought an individual, and he was introduced to me as Mahatya, and he was identified as the leader of the movement. At that time it was not known as the JVP. And he introduced himself to me, and he said he would like to discuss the current political situation. And I think we had a discussion for about an hour, and uh, it came out that his discussion was more factual and more logical, and it made sense because of the international context within which things were happening, and also because of the advocacy by Mr. Jayawardena, the finance minister at the time, to roll over the electoral map. After the discussion, I decided to join them in their campaign, as well as the Socialist Union as a whole decided to become part and parcel of the movement.
My main contribution, there's no such thing as my main contribution. During the various stages of the struggle, I have taken different roles. At the very beginning, say from 1977 to 1983, when I was organizing things, as I said, I come here every year, spend about 2 months. Then I came to know different groups, their leadership, and since I come from England, and also we had a particular view, the eros, that is, we had a problem between Elam and Tamilam, the T groups and E groups. One was nationalistic and they said Tamilam, whereas we said Elam. So everyone was against us. They thought we were going to do all Sri Lankan revolution, we were for. So TULF at that time were trying to tell them not to associate with us, because we are interested in the all island revolution, not the Tamil setting of the Tamil kingdom or Tamil separate state. So, but then we won over all the leaders who were in the struggle, and during that period that trust was helpful. After 83, we all reassembled in India. Then the government of India and the international community was involved. From 83 to 87, I would say, we operated under Elam National Liberation Front called ENLF, which EROS, EPRLF, TELO and LTTE were members of it, set up. Now, in any discussion, normally I was trusted as the representative. I mean, Prabharan would say, because at that time, Indians expelled Satyendra, Chandrahasan and Balasingham from India. So they didn't have anyone to generally speak for themselves. So I was made the spokesman in Bandari round of talks, and Prabharan trusted, he will say, Anna, you speak for us. So that was a trusted role I did perform, and also negotiating with India at that time, talking about the 13th Amendment and things like that on behalf of ENLF. Then after LTTE started fighting with the IPKF, then EROS came to an end. We decided we are not getting into this kind of conflicts. We met Prabharan and said, if you are going to do this, then that's the end of EROS's involvement. After that, I used to come during the peace process, talk to Prabharan, and mainly after Balasingham was sick and he left the organization, and that was during the interim administration which Ranil proposed. Then I went and met the LTTE leadership, and we had a discussion. I said that you have to respond to this. And during the Bandari round of talks, Prabharan and me had worked out, expanding the 4 Thimbu principles into 10 principles. So based on that, who can submit a proposal challenging Ranil's interim administration proposals. That he said he will do it.
My pre-1971 contribution mainly consisted of expanding the network in almost all the workplaces I worked at the time, and also to do a lot of research work for Comrade Rohana whenever he needed information in certain subject areas. During after the insurrection, when we were in prison, my major contribution during the whole of my term in the JVP, I would say my contribution to develop the policy declaration of the JVP. My main contribution was about the language issue, about religion, about devolution of power, and mainly about the national question. And I also contributed in other areas to the development. And the policy declaration was drafted in 1972 while we were in magazine prison, and it came as a publication later in 1978, I think. We started an organization called Society for Socialist Culture, and we worked in many fields, for example, in musical performances, in drama development, in publishing poems, and so on. And now, with regard to Songs of Liberation, it was a collective effort which I led, and the people who contributed towards that effort were mainly Nandana Marasinghe, Sunila Weerasekara, Buddhadasa Vitanachi, Jayawarena Gamage, and many other comrades who contributed towards that. And we had 200 public performances, and it was a very popular concert, and which was banned twice by the government, but still we went on. And the other areas of my contribution was to make the organization more democratic, because we were an organization which had worked mostly under underground conditions, sort of as a centralized organization, as many Marxist organizations did during that time. After 1977, after our release from prison, we wanted to make it into a more democratic organization, and most of the leaders of the JVP took a more, I would say, autocratic approach towards the issues, even internal issues of the JVP, which I didn't. And I had a more democratic approach, consulting members, listening to their problems, listening to their views, and trying to address their issues in a democratic manner. As a General Secretary, I had to look into foreign affairs, then my work in the north and east among the Tamil people and Muslim people, and also looking to other areas like trade unions and even district organizations, sort of.
The last time I met Prabharan was during the peace process. After Balasingham left, I think I also met him after the tsunami. When I came in the December, immediately after the tsunami. Then that was about the problems caused by the tsunami. After that, I had nothing to do with them, because they were beset with internal problems. Karna's breakup, that was a major one. And after that, it was dealing with their own problems within. And my access mainly is through Balakumar, who was Prabharan's advisor, and he didn't see eye to eye with him with what he was doing. So it was his perceptions and the problems, what the commanders said, and what I had to do about them. So it is not, in a sense, there was no need for me to be an advisor of Prabharan, because it was a different kind of situation. He was trying to sort it out within, and I don't think I could have made any contribution there.
The last meeting I had with Comrade Rohana Vijayveera was in July 1983, at the last Central Committee meeting we had at Comrade Vijit Ranaveera's house in Hambantota. And at that time, there was a bit of a commotion about what was going on within the movement, and this is immediately after the presidential election in 1982, where Comrade Rohana got only about 280,000 votes, and the leadership of the JVP was expecting more votes, obviously, and so they were a bit disappointed with the result, and that led to some sort of an internal dispute why it happened. Rather than discussing the political reasons as to how the voters voted for the two major parties, having personal expectations mainly. The discussion centered around the right to self-determination, which was an accepted policy of the JVP since the beginning, since 1972. There was a certain section within the JVP who said, because we advocated the right to self-determination of Tamil people, Sinhala people didn't vote for the JVP, and the Tamil people, although we recognize their right to self-determination, they also didn't vote for the JVP, and that became a major issue. And I think some of the people, or some of the members of the JVP became a bit disheartened with the situation. And by 1983, they wanted to discuss this issue because, sort of I had, as a general secretary, I was issuing press statements with regard to the situation, and especially the killings that occurred in Batticaloa district, the fisheries people who went from Tangol to do their work in that area. They killed a couple of people in that area, and then I issued media releases condemning those killings and also clarifying the policy position of the JVP. And the Politburo didn't agree with that position, and so I had a conflict with the rest of the leaders, especially with Comrade Rohana and Comrade Kamanayaka. And I think it was in June 1983, the first confrontation of it, because they didn't want me to release a press statement containing the accepted policy of the JP. So I challenged them, said that Politburo cannot change the decisions taken at the Central Committee meeting, the policy positions. So I would resign from the party, even from the membership on that occasion. And so they got a bit agitated, and they didn't want me to do that. And they said they will have a discussion at the Central Committee level. And that is when we had this Central Committee meeting at Comrade Vijay Ranavira's place. This was in July 1983. And I advocated the accepted policy until then, and Comrade Rohana opposed it. He said he cannot accept the right to self-determination as the policy. And there was, for the first time, we had a vote, and I think we got only 3 votes, and the rest voted against us. And so I took the decision to resign from the party at that point. And that was my last meeting with Comrade Rohana. Since then, actually, I had my last Politburo meeting in January 1984. That is after the release. I was under detention under emergency regulations for 10 months, and I was released. And then we had this Politburo discussion in somewhere in Jayawardena. But Comrade Rohana didn't attend it because obviously intelligence services were looking for him. And Comrade Piyada Saranasinghe and Comrade Sumita Tukorla, they participated in the discussion. And that is when I got the message that Comrade Rohana wanted me to have a discussion with President Jayawardena and discuss about lifting the ban on the JVP, which I did. I had a discussion with President Jayawardena at his office, and well, he said Comrade Rohana needs to come and give a statement, and then he could consider that, sort of, and but Comrade Rohan refused to do that. So that is the last activity I had anything to do with Comrade Rohan. And then because of the policy differences I had, although the Politburo wanted me to continue as the General Secretary of the party, even in January 1983, I decided to resign because, sort of, I couldn't agree with the nationalistic, chauvinistic policies that had been adopted by the JVP by then. And I actually, because at the Politburo I raised this point, they wanted me to have another discussion with Comrade Rohana Vijayveera. And they said they will organize that, and actually I was taken to Mathugama to have that discussion towards the end of January 1984. And actually Comrade Soman Samarasinghe in his motorbike, he took me to Mathugama. And but Comrade Rohana Vijayveera didn't turn up. So and after that they didn't have any conversation with me with regard to meeting Comrade Rohana or anything. So I thought that has come to a dead end, and that is when I decided to write my letter of resignation from the JVP, which I submitted in February 1984. And I thought at least, they will respond by saying, okay, we would like to discuss it further and all that. But the response I received was Comrade Sumita Tukorala came to where I was resident at the time in Mawarmandiya, Kadawata. And he just asked me to hand over all the documents and all the material I had, which I did. So I handed over all those things to the JVP and I resigned.
I was born in 1943. Then mostly I was taught at home those days. And I remember going to convent in 1948, I think, for 1 year. And from there, then I came home and I didn't have a school to go to. There was some discussion where to put me in. Then my father decided I'll be going to Rahula College, where I was the only Tamil student, and then I was known as Vella Pili because they didn't, my second name, surname was totally ignored. They used my father's name and they called me Vella Pili. They were there in the school. And almost most of the teachers for us were Tamil, were Sinhalese. For the science stream, there were lots of Tamil teachers, but then I did reach that, I was in the science stream. So my activities mostly were with that Sinhalese or Pali, that kind of teachers. Then we moved to Veligama. It was a wonderful place, lovely sea on the side. We lived in an old house belonging to, I think it was Pandita Gunawardhan, who was a district judge or something like that. Happy memories there. That is when you really, 5, 6, you are growing up with the neighborhood. I mean, house was no joy because they were all setting rules for us. So you meet all these other guys and you have the whole of Pelana to run around to meet people, play with them and come. Then you went to school. Now, Rahul was the school chosen for me by my father. It was great. I think first thing was it was large, a big school, and I was really scared when you first went in. But gradually, you became very friendly with the people, and then you formed groups, and it so happened I was a leader of one of the groups. They used to call me Demala Velua, his group. I mean, those days Demala Singla doesn't mean a thing to us. I mean, we would go to school in a car, and the car will drop my sisters and come and stay in our school. So the teachers will borrow the car to go anywhere and come. So I was taken care of by the teachers. In return, they couldn't do anything with the kind of naughty things I used to do. And the principal then was Kumarage. I mean, I can remember, he found it difficult to control me. He would cane me and sometimes 30, 40 whacks. But next day I would do the same. I think he must have got fed up. Now, when you looking back, you think, what happened? I mean, you came, I mean, I had the same problem at home with my parents setting down rules. I have been someone who never observed these rules. I didn't like because it was constricting me. So, but still you enjoyed because outside these rule making things, you had loads of friends going to the sea beach early in the morning, evenings, meeting friends. It was a real happy existence. It's beyond description, the growing up. It was the happiest period I can remember.
In fact, this was my ancestral land area. My father's ashes were buried here, just behind this platform. Actually, we used to go to school, and at that time also I was involved in politics because my father used to be a member of the Communist Party, and we were heavily influenced by what was going on at that time, because the United National Party, the members of the United National Party, they threatened my father. They wanted to remove the flags during the 1952 election, and there were several incidents, and I think I was influenced by what happened during that time, and also the social context in this area at that time. The people were suffering to such an extent that I tried to understand what was going on. People are working hard and still they can't survive. Why is that? And that is why I started studying about politics. During my school days at Rahula College, I was involved with the Students' Union of the Communist Party at that time. So I remember while I was going to school, sort of, and there was this particular occasion where I was asked to speak about anything, and I started talking about Marxism, and the teacher was not so happy about the topic, but then that was my nature. When I was studying at Rahula, I used to travel by train, as I said, and there was a teacher uh, who used to catch the train from Palana, and gradually we became friends. And he used to teach chemistry at Rahula College. His name was Mr. Rajamatandan, and Mr. Rajamatandan became so close to us. Then he said that he could help me in my English, and he started. He wanted me to come to his house and then spend maybe 1 hour after school, and he will help me in my English, and that is how I caught up with my English.
I have been very conscious of politics when I was growing up. The reason being, my father was he had lots of political friends. I mean, Sepala Ratnayaka, Victor Ratnayaka in Deniaya, then Akuras Vikramasinghe and his brother-in-law Sarath Vijay they would contest each other. So they were good friends. And Montegu Jayawardena in Veligama, Mahanama Samaravira in Mathura. And for elections, he would fund them all. I mean, on election day, he would hire cars and send them to all these people. So you were brought up in a sort of political atmosphere in the South. At the same time, you get all the politicians who come, like Sir John Kothalavala and people like that. When they come, Dudley Sennaker, I go to these meetings with them because they were top people. You read about them. You have access. So sometimes you go and stay on the platform with them. And one fine day, Sir John said, people like him will be the prime ministers tomorrow. I mean, I didn't sleep after that because I thought I'm going to be the prime minister of Sri Lanka after that. So they used to joke about it. Now, it was that is the kind of atmosphere you are brought up in. And then 56 comes, then there was a meeting in Veligama, election meeting. Pani Lagakon was the SLFP candidate. Then I think, if I remember, it was Sir John who came and addressed the meeting, and some people raised some issues which I have forgotten. He got down from the platform. He was trying to go and hit him. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's politics. But when during the election, when Montagu Jayakrama lost, immediately it had an impact. And you saw suddenly the SLFP rising up with the votes. I mean, it was a massive destruction of the UNP. You never imagined that was going to take place. Then you were following what was happening, the Satyagraha, the FP conducted in Golface before the Single-Only Act and all. That created certain kind of uncertainty. And more than that, at school, I mean, you didn't feel it directly from anyone there, but you felt the background was shifting.
Mr. Bandaranaike established the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, and he forwarded the slogan that if they come to power, they will make Sinhala the official language of the country within 24 hours. And we were very happy because Sinhala was going to be the official language of the country. And during that period, my father resigned from the Communist Party and joined the SLFP as a member. And I remember my father campaigning for the SLFP, sort of in full force. He was active. I was also very supportive of their campaign. We had that nationalistic feeling, I think, because we were Sinhala-speaking people, and to gain that status was something very good. When Sinhala was made the official language of the country, the vehicle number plates were, the government used Sinhala letter Sri in vehicle number plates, and when those vehicles were sent to Jaffna, the Tamil people who were opposed to that policy, they were not opposed to making Sinhala the official language of the country, but they were opposing the fact that Tamil was not recognized at all during that period. So they started tarring the letter Sri number plates, and the Sinhala people down south, they started tarring all Tamil signage in protest.
I remember 1958 and that period very well. That must have had a real impact on me. It is things are happening around the south, and you're coming from school. People stopped the car, and they found my father wasn't in the car. They let the car go. Then my father came by bus, I think, that later on. And then he decided we must leave and go to Jaffna. It is not safe to be. So he went to call the driver. The driver is not there. He has disappeared or whatever that is. Then you were in the house. Then people surrounded the house, large numbers, and they were saying, shouting various slogans. One was, I can remember, is Demalalia Kalegia. I mean, because my father was strong UNP. So he was, they were making these kind of statements. Next door, my aunt and uncle who were teaching at Rahula. And my aunt was taken to the sea beach. I don't know whether to kill or rape or whatever that is. But behind our house there was Mendes, he was a bus driver. He took the gun and went to the sea beach and rescued my aunt. Then we all ended up in Mathura police station. The inspector of police took our car away, and we don't know what happened to the lorries after that, vehicles. Then we were there for a few days. Then we came and stayed at Montague Jayakrama's mother's house for a while. Then I had my aunt's brother was then was the director of civil aviation, B.R. Devarajan. He flew into Kogala and took us all, including the whole household, the servants, everyone, like Sopi. We all went to Jaffna. And there you found other people like my cousins and others also have come from Anuradhapura and other areas. One name I can mention is people know Yogi in LTTE. I mean, we all who went there in 58 riots. We were in one house, about 20, 30 people. I mean, that was I had never been to Jaffna before then. So this was the time a lot of people are coming there. And for me it was a problem because we never knew any other language than Sinhalese. So people were making all kinds of funny things about us.
At the time, my father had a shop at our house itself, and there was Singapore Traders, which is a shop in Weligama town, wholesaler, who supplied BD, cigars, betel leaves, and so on, to our shop. In 1958, there were riots against Tamil people down south, and Singapore Traders were burned down. And again, there was this gentleman called Mr. Rajamathandan, and he used to travel by train to school, and we came to know that he was also affected because he vanished from the scene since 1958, and he used to be very close with us, and it was more or less like a family friend. We used to go out and visit his house, and when he was not in the scene, we thought we should inquire about him, and we went and saw his place, and everything was abandoned. His house was damaged. And later on, my father and I both went to the police station just to find out, what has happened to Mr. Rajamathandan. And they said nothing, and we were very angry about it, but then we couldn't do anything.
The founder leader of EROS was Comrade Ilayathambi Ratnaswabadi. He died in 2007. We, his colleagues, decided to have an event to mark his contribution after 1 year of his death. So we spent time in identifying the kind of participants at this conference, and Lionel was chosen to represent the singular strand of it so that he can come and address the conference about the current situations. So the conveners decided to send me to fetch Lionel from the airport at Heathrow when he arrived. I went, met him, got into the car, and we had a long drive for an hour. So I was curious to find out more about Lionel. Then when I inquired where he was from, he said Veligama. Surprised me. Then as our discussions continued, then he said he was from Rahula. Immediately my memory started working to identify who this man was. I was at the same school at that time.
It was amazing to find out that Mr. Rajamathan, who was my teacher, was Kuhan's uncle, and I have passed Kuhan's house so many times to go to Mr. Rajamathan's house where I received English lessons, and I have never seen Kuhan while traveling to see Mr. Rajamathan.
I also didn't see Lionel either. We had a childhood together, but we have never met each other.
Yeah, it was so nice to see you and all.
Yeah,
after such a long time.
you'll be surprised to know that.
Looking back, I would say the contribution of the JVP in positive terms, the spread of the ideas of social justice and the need for the people to fight for their rights. And we could spread that almost island-wide in the south. And as a result of our activities, there was land reform, limiting the land to 50 acres, the ownership. For the first time in the history of Sri Lanka since independence, we were able to show that people who are suffering can rise up against the injustices of the ruling elite if they could be made aware of their issues, and on a principled basis if they could be made aware of the solutions.
In the case of the Tamil struggle, what one can say is when it started, the struggle, Tamils feeling very strongly the state was an engine of oppression, and also people at that time were reluctant to expose their Tamil identity, like speaking in Tamil in Colombo was something they were scared of. And even I know when I used to go to university, the girls, by the time they get to Vavaniya, they take the puttu off so that Tamilness is never revealed. After the war, you can see there is a pride in them, and also they felt they have put the state, drawn a line and say, state so far and no further. This has restored some kind of dignity on the people, and from there they can go forward in asserting their democratic rights. Now the people feel strongly about that.
One of the major experiences of the struggles in the South, and also from the international experience, I would say that when we build a movement, it becomes a party, and then the party substitutes itself for the people. Once it happens, the struggle fails because people cannot achieve their expectations.
Same thing, if you look at the Tamil struggle, initially when all these different groups came, when people called themselves, called all these guys their boys, and they were all part of it, say in the 80s, or even 83, even before then. But as the struggle went on, you found the forces that are supposed to emancipate us, they became separate from the people. And in the end, I mean, to me, it is like mass suicide. So the democratic thing wasn't within the struggle. That was one of the reasons for the struggle to end like that.
That's a dilemma we have, I think.
Lionel, it is a dilemma. Meanwhile, let us go back to Veligama.
Perhaps until the next rebellion start.